All right. And we're finishing the Dvar Malchut that we started last week. And there were a lot of topics that were really quite amazing and miraculous over here. And one of them was the idea of how to bring Moshiach and stressing that it's much easier than we can possibly imagine. Namely, that all we have to do is add a little something. Add a little something. I always see there's so much bad in the world. There's so much, how do you say, disappointment and frustration and evil going on in the world. Says that's all part of the Gola. That's Gola. Gola means exile. That's par for the course of exile. That's exile. Exile means that there's bad things, frustrating things, negative things, terrible, how do you say, disappointments. We pray to God, we don't get answered. We seem to be that the whole world is against us and they're winning and we're losing. We have terrible leaders. Everyone's in the wrong direction. Everybody's against everybody else. That's goal. That's the way the world is. That's goal. That's exact exile. That's exact. Don't get excited about it. That's the exile. Says, okay, but well, good. How do we fix it up? The Rebbe says very simple. Leave the exile the way it is. Add more good. Do more good. Put an Aleph in. Aleph, says the Rebbe, is the creator of the universe, the creator. Alufo Shalom. Learn more Torah. Learn more Torah. Do the commandments. More Torah. More good. That's Aluf Aleph Chachma Aleph Chavbina. And also realize that God does miracles. We're not alone. We don't have to do the whole thing ourselves. God took the Jews out of Egypt. He'll do big miracles. He'll fix the whole thing up to the degree that when we put the Aleph into the Gola, that suddenly everything changes and it becomes Geula. Suddenly everything changes and everybody starts looking at the world differently, etc. Okay, then the Rebbe said, with this, we can start to understand the world and the Torah. The world was created with 10 utterances, and it says in Pirkei Avot, but it could have been created with one utterance. So the Rebbe said the fact is that the Mishnah of Pirkei Avot is hinting to us that the world was created with one utterance and the 10 utterances. And the same thing with the Torah. The Torah was given 10, they call it the 10 commandments, the 10 Dvorot, the first 10 words that God spoke, the 10 commandments. But the first of them, that's the 10, but the first of them is Anochi, I, which by the way starts off with an Aleph, the oneness of God. And what's the point? The point is that the world is created with 10 utterances, but the fact that the world exists is pure godliness. The fact that it exists cannot be explained in any way except for God is doing it. You can ignore it. How the world exists, that there's plants, that there's animals, that there's minerals, that there's vegetables, that there's stars, that there's spirit, that there's, okay, all that's part of the creation. That seems to be separate from God, and there's theorists that say maybe it didn't come from God, maybe it came from its own spontaneous combustion or creation or whatever you want to call it. It all came up on its own. Okay, could be. But how does everything exist now? How does it exist now? Where does existence come from right now? How do things exist? Right? That there's this pen, there's air, there's light. Not how they exist, but the fact that they exist. How can they? That's pure godliness. It says bring that pure godliness into every detail in the world, and you realize that everything in the world is as different as everything is from everything else, right? And as diverse as all the creations are, but they have one thing in common, that they're all being created. And when you look at the world in this way, then that's like putting the Aleph in, it makes a change. All of a sudden, everything becomes different because it's a fact. The fact is that everything is being created all the time. And that's the whole essence of the Torah. The Torah came into the world in order to be the Aleph, this Aleph that fixes up the world, the Creator himself, the essence of the Creator, in order that we should open up our eyes and see what the creation is all about. And that's why the Torah was given in a desert. That's what the Rebbe's original question was. Why why the Torah was given in a desert. The desert is a place that's ownerless, and everything that's lost in the desert is ownerless. That's all. First, you lose your wallet in the desert, you're not going to go back and look for it because it's gone, right? It's gone. Everything in the desert is gone. And the Rebbe said, 1 second. God gave the Torah in the desert. The Torah doesn't belong to anybody. God gave the Torah to the Jews. The Torah belongs only to the Jews. It doesn't belong to everybody. If so, why was it done in the desert? Says, okay, it was done in the desert. That's a secondary thing. Says, no, it's not a secondary thing. It's always very stressed that the Torah was given in the desert. Why was it given in the desert? Because you have to be humble. You have to be this. But it was given in the desert, Midbar Sinai. And the Torah portion that we learn is also always Bamidbar, right? That we learn next to the giving of the Torah. Bamidbar, that's so why? This is also stressed. It says on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, the first day of Sivan, the Jewish people went into the desert of Sinai. And the reading of the Torah that we read right before the holiday of Shavuot, right, is always Bamidbar, the desert. So this we explained before, that the desert is a place where it's ownerless. Namely what? That it's a place where no one owns anything. It's not even what's called a public domain. A public domain which is owned by the public. A desert is ideally a place where it's not owned by anybody. And the explanation of this in the Torah is like this. Listen, especially in the days of, when the Torah was given, nowadays everybody claims ownership on everything, right? You want to set up a house in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Is the government over there that belongs to Saudi Arabia or something? They'll think that you're trying to dig for oil or something. But back then, ideally, a desert is a place that's ownerless. It's ownerless. Nothing is there. So it says the explanation. What does it mean? Why was the Torah? When the Torah was given in the desert was certainly a place that was ownerless. And the desert is not even a public domain. A public domain, this is talking about the level of the Torah that has some connection to the public. 600,000 Jews were there. In the Torah, this is what's called a public domain. That there's 600,000 Jews, just the males, it says, for 20 years up. This corresponds to 600,000 letters of the Torah. That's already the Torah, how it's relevant to the world. Look, and therefore it is the possession of the public. This is in a way that it's given over to the Jews. This is the level of the Torah which is relevant to the world. That's what we call the 10 utterances that God created the world with. Midbar, a desert, this is a place where nobody owns anything. This hints at the level of the Torah, which is totally above any connection to the world. So to speak, the essence of God, where the Torah and God are totally one. This is what we said before is the one utterance that God created the world with. The fact that there is existence. Shemitzad atzmo, that on itself is no connection to any one individual or even to the multitude, not to the public. This is God himself. God himself, so to speak, gave it over. This is God presenting himself to the world. That's what the Torah is. That's the essence of the Torah. By means of this is given permission and a merit that anyone who wants to can come and take the Torah. That's also the 7 Noahide commandments. Non-Jew is not allowed to learn the Torah. That's the aspect of the Torah which is relevant to the world. But the aspect of the godliness in the Torah, a non-Jew is also relevant to. That's the 7 Noahide commandments. That's the pure godliness of the Torah. Therefore, the Torah was given in a desert because to show us that the Torah is not just a book and it's not just for the Jews. The Torah is God. The Torah is God's revelation in the world, and there never is, was, or will be another revelation of God in the world like the Torah. The essence of God is in the Torah. That's why the Torah was given in the desert, in order to hint to us that the complete, true completion of receiving the Torah is when you receive also the level of the Torah which is totally above the world. That's why also in Simchat Torah, when we dance in the end of the holiday of Sukkot, the Simchat Torah is with the joy of the Torah. So we should take the Torah and learn it. That's the joy. It says, no, the joy of the Torah is just the fact that God gave the Torah. The Torah is God in the world. That's what the Torah is. That in order that you can receive the Torah, God had to give it in specifically in a desert to hint that the Torah is something which is completely above any understanding or ownership. You can't grasp it, not even in your mind. God, we can say the whole important purpose of giving the Torah in a ownerless place is really what's going to be in the future. The ideas of the Moshiach. The Torah, it says by the Torah, it says there's a sentence in Isaiah that says the Torah mi'iti tetzeh. The Torah will come out from me. What does it mean? Mi'iti, that will feel the godliness of the Torah. The Torah Toshel Kodesh Baruch Hu will feel that it is the Torah of God. Shalamayla legamri, that's totally above any connection to the world. Now we read the Torah. It's an interesting book, an amazing book. There's books I heard somebody say that the Torah was written by several people because there's several different names of God in the beginning. I saw this before other places, right? That there were several authors of the Torah. The Torah was given. Okay, that's all lies. It's lies. The Torah is pure God. Pure God. You don't understand it. Torah is a book. You can go into the library, take the book out. How is it different from any other book? The difference is because it was given in a desert. No other book was given in the desert. Why was it given in the desert? To show that it is not relevant to human beings. It's relevant only to God. But God gave it. Okay, so that part is relevant to the human beings. That's relevant to us. But Torah is pure God. Look, and therefore, that God gave the Torah into the world, this is by means of me'iti tetzeh. It comes out from God. Don't learn the Torah and forget about the godliness of the Torah. Don't learn the Torah and forget about God himself. The Torah, so to speak, came out from God's possession and he made it hefker. He gave it to anybody. And he wanted to give it to the world. So the Torah was given to the world. There's laws in the Torah that say that only Jews are allowed to learn the Torah. 99% of the laws of the Torah are only relevant to Jews, totally relevant to Jews. There's some that are copied over for the 7 Noahide commandments. They say that honoring your parents and loving God, things like that, that's also relevant to the Jews. But all the other laws, keeping Shabbat and not eating the not kosher food and forbid to eat blood and things like that, that's only relevant to the Jews. Although a person that doesn't keep Shabbat is punishable by death, that's only talking about the Jews. And how exactly the death penalty is administered, that it's so difficult, it's almost impossible to kill anybody according to the Torah. But that's only according to the Jews. That's only for the Jews. But that doesn't in any way detract from the fact that the Torah is pure godliness. The Torah is given to everybody. Everyone in the world. That's what Moshiach is going to do. To reveal that the creator of the world is the one who's giving the Torah. It's not written by some angel or some spiritual force to get you out of the world into heaven. It's to make the world meaningful. According to this, now we can explain also what it says, B'chodesh HaShlishi, in the 3rd month, on this day, the Jews came into the Mount Sinai, Vayichan Sham Yisrael, and the Jewish people camped there. But it doesn't say that they camped there. It says the Jewish people, he camped there. Vayichan, he camped. Vayichan is singular. It says, Ki'ish echad b'lev echad, like one person with one heart. The Jews were like one person with one heart. What does it mean? Hoyle, since I always thought about this, I thought like this. Why does it say that the Jews, they camped around Mount Sinai like one person with one heart? Just say they camped around like one person, or like with one heart. They all had one heart. What does it mean? Like one person with one heart. What does that mean, one person? Not only that, a person doesn't have one heart. Your heart are your desires. People have thousands of desires. Their heart says, Palig l'kol shayfin, says your heart goes everywhere. A person wants this today, wants that today, wants the other thing today, wants this, right? And so this is what I thought. I made this up so you can unmake it if you want to. This is what I thought. All the Jewish people were like one person with one heart. There's only one person in the world that has one heart, and that's Moshe. Moses was the only person in the world that he had one heart, only what God wants. And all the Jews were like that one person. They were like Moses. They were like that one person who has one heart. All the Jewish people had the same mind, the same heart, the same values as Moshe. They were only thinking about the creator of the universe. Why? Since the Jewish people, God saw that the Jewish people hated dissension, arguments, and they loved peace. Therefore, they made camping. They camped like one person. That's the time when God gave the Torah. Because why? In order to receive this level of the Torah, which is above any connection to the world, which is pure godliness, a person has to go out from his whole existence. And by means of this, he can make himself like a desert. Like a desert. And if you think about it for 1 second, it's even logical, If even logical. How do I have eyes that I can see? Huh? You take it for granted. What do you mean, why do I have eyes? I woke up in the morning, I have eyes, that's all. Don't take it for granted that your eyes work. Don't take it for granted that your ears work. Don't take it for granted that you're intelligent, that you have mind, that you can understand one word after another. It makes sense. These things are big miracles, and they're given to us by God. These things are big miracles. And if you think about it for a second, you can realize that every instant in life and everything that we see is an amazing gift. It's God's world. It's not our world. And we are God's miracles. It's not my miracles. I'm not God, even though I might feel like God, even though I have a lot of evidence to prove that I'm God, right? Because when I do things that I want to do, it makes me feel good. So that's, there it is. It's just like the Holy Temple. You bring an offering to the Holy Temple. God is pleased. Well, I, eat up whatever it is, a candy bar. I'm pleased. I made an offering to myself. So good. You have a lot of evidence to prove that you are God. But the fact is, we're not God. And if we think about it for a second, we can realize that what we are is big, amazing miracles. That's what we are. Every instant. Like a desert. The desert is totally ownerless. It's totally ownerless. It's just there. That's all there is. It's just there. It's a place that's hefker. Tachlit abitul, total surrender to God. Ubitul, this is expressed in not having arguments and loving Jews, loving one another, which is almost impossible. Because a person could say, listen, I'm a big miracle and everything I is a big gift. And God says, okay, now put on tefillin. Leave me alone. I'm a big miracle. This, and don't bother me. I'm a miracle, and everything is God's world. But don't expect me to do things and to go out of my miracle. How do you say the mindset? Right? I'm happy with what I'm doing. I won't do anything bad. Now you want me to do good things, and so that's the whole idea of the Jewish people. The essence, nature of a Jewish people is they love arguments. People love arguments. That's the one big problem about thinking that you're God, because the other guy also thinks that he's God. And the third person thinks that they're God. And the fourth person says, all of you people are wrong to think that you're God. It's egotism. It's wrong because I'm God. Right? So everybody thinks that they're God. That's the problem. Because everybody thinks that they're God and they feel that they're God. And God created us that way. So automatically, if somebody doesn't agree with me, so you're disagreeing with God. Well, you can't do that. So Jewish people love a contention. That's the way God created us. What are we going to do? It says, as soon as the Jewish people realize, no, that my whole existence is a big miracle, and that I feel separate, that's also a big miracle, and I have to use that separateness for what the Creator wants, that means hefker. That means hefker. Total surrender. And this surrender is especially that other people don't get on my nerves. Other people don't get on my nerves. Right? Who am I to get angry? Who am I to get it? Maybe the other guy is right. Maybe the other person is right. Maybe the reason he's angry is because I'm such an egotist. I bring it out of him. I'm gonna remove my egotism from the formula. The whole reason is yeshus atzmo. A person feels himself. By means of this, the Jewish people became fit and prepared to receive the Torah, which is above the connection to the world. Now, just one more small thing. When all the Jewish people really get along with one another, they don't lose their identity. They don't lose their uniqueness. Exactly the opposite. They don't spend their energy on stupid, pointless arguments and ego trips. They can use their energy for good things, and God presents a lot of opportunities to do good. I just read the other day that there's this. I guess now he's becoming famous or something like this. There's a Jewish guy. Is a mathematician. What was his name? I'll tell you his name in a second. His name was Grigory. What was his name? Anyway, his name. So anyway, he's like a super duper genius, and he figured out this formula that all the mathematicians couldn't figure out, and they gave him $1 million prize, right? Okay, now $1 million. Now, what did he do? What did the guy do? He figured out who even cares about this thing? The fact is that somehow or other is very important. I don't even understand how it's important. It's such a unique little tiny thing. And this person was created that he has the unique ability to solve this problem. It's worth $1 million to solve the problem. So if this person, he has the ability to do this thing that nobody could. So everybody has the ability to do something that nobody else can do. To smile, to say a good word, right? It could be that one smile is worth more than this fellow, what he figured out with this. I don't know if it has any practical implications, what this guy figured out, right? Perlman is his name. Perlman. And the guy's a genius and everything. And he just became sort of like separated from the world. I mean, but he has this ability that God gave him this ability. Well, everybody has some ability in some sort of a form that you don't even know that it's necessary, that it's needed, but it is needed. And all of a sudden, there opens up a whole new field that this ability can be expressed. You look at computers nowadays, right? A whole new thing. That 50 years ago, there was no field computers. Even though that this preparation, and that's the whole idea. Every Jew is unique, but don't use this uniqueness in order to make war with somebody else. Give place for other people. And that's the whole idea of the Torah. And that's why the Torah was given in the desert, to realize that everything we have is a gift. Even though that the preparation for receiving the Torah in the desert was by means of surrender, namely giving yourself over totally to God and forgetting about who you are. But this is the way that anyone who wants to receive the Torah can come and receive. Receive. You become a vessel for receiving new things. Kabbalah Sa'adam, you don't become, how do you say, stale and stiff, old. You're always young. You're always willing to receive new things. The low kalashan, like the Rebbe says, and Matan Torah, that God gave the Torah, by means of the Jewish people surrendering themselves to God, they can receive the Torah. This is stressed the whole idea of the level of the Torah, which is above any existence, comes and becomes part of their existence. The Torah, which we said is Bamidbar, it's pure godliness. By the Jewish people opening themselves up, they became vessels for the Torah. By means they can learn and they can understand and they can grasp ideas of the Torah until the point where they can put new ideas in the Torah together. That's the token, that's the ultimate level of holiness, that they can find new novel ideas popping up from the Torah that only they could find. As we're going to continue, God willing, tomorrow. Stop the share. 1 minute.